goes. I'm going to start with a piece which is about my grandfather. On rare nights, at rare times, I would be left on my grandfather's doorstep. Brown paper bag, suitcase under my arm, I'd wander around back to the patches of green grass lawn, the old oak tree stump with the axe firmly embedded. To the overgrown xylosma bushes and zinnias and little golden butterflies swarming around. To a small paint-battered Victorian. To the decaying shack, mi papa's shack. The shack leaned as if it was spinning with the world, and it had left it swept and weather-beaten to the left. Duck pens tucked under the raised floor made it seem as if the shack itself had given birth to the quacks and earthly aromas that filled the air. An obstacle course of feathers, duck pellets, and properly tended to groupings of mi papa's necesidades lay between the shack and the main house. This, in my memory, was the universe. Soon, mi abuelo would be weaving tales between the lines on the highway. But first he would say, "¿Qué pasó, mi niñito?" "Ah, Gloria," would explode from his years with a railroad barrel chest, while he stare-smiled past me to his primer Chevy stepside. On the highway, he'd be filling the potholes of old desert roads smooth with flight to our chocolate mountains. There, the breeze would animate the brush and tumbleweeds would race jackrabbits into hiding. We entered a place where the sky would loosen our heads. In broken but precise English, my grandfather described distant lightning storms as the heaven taking pictures. We contorted ourselves to catch their reflections in a shuddering eye. He talked to me about the green face of a mother in a change of life, and how heaven's light illuminated her wounds as grace, and how humans paled before her divinity. Maria of earthly passions, proud of her flowering and deflowering year after year. I would tell him of my fear that embraced me almost to suffocation in my home, of the violence, of the shouts and the breaking furniture. He would sigh and inhale as if to suck out the poison that grew in my wounded heart, and tell me how men and women must always fight to win what little love there is in this world. But in the world of dreams, where flesh was just a trick, they moved within and without the same space, and how in that world they would one day become one, spirit, sonambulos, learn how to inhabit the waking world. At 6, in a world that seemed so very dry that it made me afraid to move, mi abuelo was a river that would gather me up in his surging arms with twigs and branches and sand and clay, and create a mulch to feed an ancient arbol in the season before the sleep. Covered himself in dust so as to move with the wind, he would chant to me, his retina, his visions, while sleeping wrapped in his sarape. Far away from pain, with his eyes like smoke, he would summon the air and the decoy of light, and then exhale into my face and say, "Respiro humo, mi niñito, con ojos cerrados, breathe smoke, breathe smoke." And it would take me years to learn how to exhale. This is called wet. Stretched out on imagination, racking with the need to grow, competitions of adolescence funnel, defining years of men pretending to be holy ghosts. Loving, love, rendering your nerves exposed, curiouser and curiouser, till air seeming too thick to fill you with any buoyancy other than that of a bobbing apple in a bucket. Your face is wet. Wrote this one in Flagstaff. Lived there for 5 years. The men, raw-boned and lazy in their lean belly up against the bar of mahogany or oak. Peering back over years and days, it is hard to mark the wood for wood, but easy to mark the man. The hard fingers tucked in pockets, mustaches creep long over lips, narrow eyes that draw a bead on nothing, on her. This girl, this woman, this waitress, a small thing, a cup of coffee, a low-ball glass, a woman in a diner. The cook grumbling out grease and steam, the train rumbling past, and these men who watch nothing, who drink up troubles, chasing dust from behind their tongues. On the street, rain turns to snow. A couple passes, arms tucked together, heads bowed close, while she wipes empty tables, straightens chairs. The men, sepia-toned and silent, stand long dead and stare at my mother. Just go. Give me some noise. A little something.
Okay.
Through warm sheets, how easy stillness is. Within inches of my hand, your beating heart could grind to silence so simply. As slow and careless as dawn, bringing blue haze down. Calling shadows up from earth and floors, from bedroom corridors. This is music. Restless birds return to the eaves. Shock through the spring's pour parental descriptions and desperation. Leaping winged from roof to tree, to rooftop, to earth, to sky, pressed between a warm palm, how soft, how frail, and all around us there are sharp edges. Combustion. The easy rise and fall of your chest, the gentle pulse at your throat, will never know its own religion. It's about trust. Knives slumber in the kitchen counters. Still bottles live in cupboards and in drawers. Faith-held fingers curled in wet palms and in wee palms and in pockets. The morning's twittering birds worship sky, hurtle through the day's spaces, hollow-boned, blind to the rising sheets before them, the full stop of molten sand, a long exhale relishing the taste of air. That's all I'm going to read from this. And then I'm going to read some newer stuff. I grew up in a small urban town called San Bernardino, which is 90 miles the southeast of Los Angeles. It's where the Santa Fe rail house was. My grandfather was a blacksmith, worked for the railroad. We lived the freeway. You could throw a pebble and hit a car on the freeway.
How often did you do that? I don't know if I would like to think that my parents coined the phrase "go play on the freeway" because it was relevant. And the train station was always there, always vibrant, always alive. The smell of burning coal, the freeway, the car, the constant, and then the occasional wreck, and the yellow lights from the freeway, and the constant smell of tarmac. and tar. It was always in the air, because right outside of town was the largest area that they grew citrus in Southern California, which was redlands. And so in the wintertime, they would burn smudge pots. And the air would fill with, this, it was the 60s. Air quality control? No! So you'd get, when you're a kid, you'd go out and play, and you literally would end up with black rings around your eyes and around your mouth. So if I keel over from some sort of lung disorder right while I'm reading this, you'll know. Something recent, it's called Judo's hip. The terror of treasure being lost at sea. The waves of evergreen depth will not spend the gold, only count the coins, and hoard it in the darkness and in the cold. Rich in its darkness and cold, into the embrace of memory, gold turns to lead. Unless, but for weight, I am separated for you. I am blue, red, and purple, wall of will that holds in an overrun garden. A gardener lost at the races. Consumed with topiary, he will never win. Nature will have its way, have its way. I am separated from you. I am not with you. I'll tell you this as a sailor, here for Fleet Week, during the golden drunken dawn, the ripple of concrete sea, the compass taxi, Royal and Bob, split the infinity uptown, downtown Bowery of my soul. Bloody whiskey bandage, wound of word offered up by my distrust of reality. It's better at the hand of Vincent, drunk on rage and his inability to hear in one ear. Embrace the esoteric of drunken slang, I say, the imp of tools, of words, of lens, of fragile glass, bringing me the arc of lightning required to temper my sternum and harden the heart of the matter. This graceless armor gives the dancer in stir, but safe from the unfed soul of the world. You sleep in Juno's hip. This brain, this builder of decibels, wound tight as a ball gag, bouncing lazily away from its initiate. Freed of pleasure bounds, sold cheap by richer minds, passing themselves off as day traders, when they wouldn't trade a day for goosing of flesh that it takes to know.